As a filmmaker, getting a bad review for your movie is one thing, but facing prison time, that's a whole different ballgame. It should go without saying, but freedom of artistic expression is crucial, and censorship is almost always inherently wrong. However, clearly not everyone agrees with me, because censorship is a significant issue that many artists still face. Some of the best films push the boundaries of what's culturally acceptable, yet some directors have created work so controversial that they face time behind bars. Today, I'm counting down 5 instances where directors were charged with crimes due to the content of their films. Please note that this list only includes directors arrested for fictional work, not documentaries or political propaganda that got them in hot water with dictatorial regimes. Additionally, this isn't about filmmakers who've committed reprehensible acts in their personal lives. That's a topic for another day. Sorry, Harvey. Our first story is perhaps the most famous example, Ruggero Deodato. In 1980, Italian filmmaker Ruggero Deodato released his shocking horror film, Cannibal Holocaust. Recognized as one of the first found footage movies ever made, Cannibal Holocaust follows an anthropologist who leads a rescue team into the Amazon rainforest to find a crew of filmmakers that have gone missing, filming a documentary on local cannibal tribes. Just a side note, but I filmed for a series that was partially shot in the Amazon, and flying over the trees and the river in a little float plane before landing on the river itself made me feel like I was in the movie, but luckily I didn't meet the same fate as the characters in that film. The stomach-churning film features intensely violent sequences, including dramatized sexual assault, dismemberment, and cannibalism, as well as, and most controversially, real-life footage of animal cruelty and killings. These scenes got the film banned in Australia, the United States, Norway, Finland, Iceland, New Zealand, Singapore, and a whole long list of other countries. But in the director's home country of Italy, the film was not only seized by government officials, but Deodato was arrested and charged with obscenity, and later faced life in prison after being charged with murdering several actors on camera. Because the film starred a largely unrecognizable cast, with 2 of the leads being students from the Actors Studio in New York City, the Italian government actually believed that Deodato had created a snuff film with real everyday people as opposed to actors. Facing these severe allegations, Deodato enlisted 3 of the actors to join him for a televised interview in Italy, proving they were still alive. During the court proceedings, Deodato was also required to detail the mechanics behind the infamous impalement scene, explaining that the actress sat on a bicycle seat mounted on an iron pole, held a piece of balsa wood in her mouth, and gazed skyward to simulate being impaled. He also presented photos showing the actress interacting with the crew after filming the scene. This compelling evidence led the courts to dismiss all charges of murder against Deodato. Number 2 is Lucio Fulci. Fulci has been nicknamed the Godfather of Gore, and for anyone familiar with his work, it's no wonder why. From his gloriously disgusting Zombie 2, to the nightmarish horror of The Beyond, to the gritty sleazefest that is the New York Ripper, Lucio Fulci has hacked and slashed his way into earning that title and wearing it proudly. But in this case, it wasn't gore that got Fulci into hot water with Italy's legal system. It was actually nudity. In his 1972 film, Don't Torture a Duckling, a scene featuring a fully nude woman, played by Barbara Boucher, flirting with an underage character, caused controversy. However, the charges were dropped after Fulci was able to prove that the actors' close-ups were filmed separately. A little person stood in for the scene involving the child, and eagle-eyed viewers can clearly spot the difference in facial structure between the 2 actors. Number 3 is Anino Mamoon. In 2020, Bangladeshi film director Anino Mamoon and actor Shaheen Murida were arrested and charged following the controversy surrounding their film, Nabab LLB, a fictional courtroom drama addressing rape and the treatment of victims, featured a scene depicting police aggressively interrogating a rape victim. Dhaka Metropolitan Police condemned the film for allegedly presenting offensive and obscene dialogue, stating it could create negative perceptions of law enforcement among the public. The controversy sparked outcry from rights activists, who argued that the arrest represented an alarming attack on artistic freedom in Bangladesh. They asserted that the film, while controversial, accurately reflected the challenges faced by rape victims within the country's legal system. Number 4, Hideshi Hino. Charlie Sheen might enjoy partying hard, being by winning, and drinking tiger's blood. But even the Sheen has to draw the line somewhere, and in case you're wondering, where he draws the line are snuff films, or at least Japanese horror films he thinks are snuff films. Film critic Chris Gore introduced Sheen to the works of Japanese horror director Hideshi Hino. Sheen watched Flowers of Flesh and Blood, part of the controversial guinea pig series, and was convinced he actually saw a real murder. Disturbed, Sheen went to the FBI, claiming he had found a snuff film. The FBI confiscated the film and started an investigation. Hino faced legal inquiries in Japan, and the film's distributor had to prove the scenes were staged. A behind-the-scenes documentary showing how the film was made eventually convinced the FBI to drop the investigation, concluding that Flowers of Flesh and Blood was not a snuff film. And lastly, we're back to Fulci. You may not know the name Carlo Rambaldi, but you're certainly familiar with his work.
Watch closely now and see how many of his beings you recognize. You have probably been terrified, fascinated, or delighted by most of these familiar creatures in the movies. All of them were designed and created by one man, whose talent as fine artist and skill as master engineer have produced a body of work which has been seen by more moviegoers around the world than that of all the others in his field combined. 3 of his creatures have earned him the coveted Oscar: the enormous King Kong, the lovable E.T., and the menacing Alien.
Rambaldi's work on 1972's A Lizard in a Woman's Skin didn't win any awards for its director Lucio Fulci. Instead, Fulci faced 2 years in prison for alleged animal cruelty. Released in 1971, the film included a sequence showing what appeared to be live dogs undergoing a grotesque experiment. The gory scene was so realistic that Italian authorities believed it depicted real animal cruelty. An article in The Guardian summarizes how Rambaldi saved Fulci from prison time. Quote, "We had to convince 4 different judges that they were not real dogs, but in actual fact, mechanical dogs that had been vivisected with our special effects," Rambaldi states. This they did by wheeling the animatronic dogs, which were made out of the skins of coyotes and rubber, into courtrooms to prove that no animals were actually harmed. All the charges were dropped. While Rambaldi hung on to many of his creations, he's said to have destroyed the dogs because of the bad memories associated with them. Well, there you have it. There's 5 directors who have gotten in hot water with the law over controversial filmmaking decisions. Have you heard these stories before? And are there any I missed and should put on another version of this video? Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more content from Film Schooled.